So, as I'm teaching AP Chem for the first year this year with Dave is my wonderful mentor, and Tanya is my also mentor on the side when Dave's not around, and everybody else in this audience that knows me when I ask them questions. So, Tanya and I, after we talked, is a lot about particle pictures. That's what the new AP test is towards, and just kind of that conceptual understanding. So we were creating things. Actually, these sheets were something that I created at Sue's class some many years ago, and just to kind of make particle pictures. And the idea was kids would go walk around and tell you what type of particle it was, whether it was a compound or an element or a mixture in that sense of sort. And then with Google Docs, Tanya and I kind of came up with something. So if you really want to, like on whatever device you have, I forgot we're not in a physics meeting because most people bring their computers to that. If you want to go to this, I know, so it's true. If you want to go to this, the tiny URL I made, and apparently some people might or might not, you can see it and you can make a copy of it. I think I shared it correctly with everybody, but I'm not possibly sure. I don't know. So you have to let me know. Anyone else? No? All right.
By the way, I had this discussion with parents the other day.
What, they don't like tiny URLs?
Well, no, they do, but I'm noticing everybody else doing this.
Taking pictures is great.
So
yeah.
everybody writes it down, all the old people like us write it down. Kids, what will they do?
Yeah, I
Just
know.
take a picture of it.
All right, so from there, for these specific ones, that's for later, I had my students, I'll do Tanya's like big view thing, and that's going to freak me out later. So I had them on their phone or their Chromebook or whatever device you have them using, go around, and I had them hung around the room 1 through 15, and for AP style, I added in some organic-ish types, not just the regular ones, and I added in some of ionic types to go through. And so before I even talked about elements, molecules, compounds, anything like that, I just went around and said, what do you guys know? Because you all have taken first year chemistry. So they went through and filled that out, so they kind of have their choices, check all that apply. And you could tell some of them were nervous, but it was a little, it wasn't like their grade was on the line for it, so they were happy to comply. And just clicked through and went through and did each one. And then after they were done with that, immediately, what I used to do is collect them or not collect them or whatnot, but immediately what I did is I pulled up the summary of their responses to go over it. So for particle picture number 1, and then I'd pull it up and I'd be like, great, a lot of us thought this was a pure substance, it has molecules, it's a compound, and then we had a conversation about other ones that were a mixture of compounds, because clearly some people chose it, but not a lot. And then you could kind of go down and see the variation got bigger at certain points. And specifically, I think for AP-wise, I threw in an ionic substance, which isn't what they would normally see, and a lot of them just said it was different molecules. And I talked about what we usually visualize that way, since they had seen it in first year chem. And I talked about how they're spaced out in drawings in the textbook, but we're going to try to pretend that they're really touching because there's a bond there. So kind of just brought it up in a discussion format as opposed to a lecture at PowerPoint format. So Tanya then, is this for your honors, right?
Honors and regular.
So honors and regular. So she's going to do this activity. That's mine. Good Lord. That's what it looks like, and then you hit, if I even know this, show summary of responses to get to the bar graphs. Mm-hmm. So it's a really quick thing. It happens as soon as they submit it. Mm-hmm. All right, and then Tanya was going to do it.
All right, so I was always taught by Carl Craddock that when you come to a Chem West meeting, either bring whatever you were doing that day or whatever you're ready for the next day. So I've always done little particle pictures like this for my first year chems, regular chem, accelerated chem. We do nuts and bolts. I don't know if some of you guys do that, little petri dishes and all different kinds of things. So I don't have big molecules like that, and I don't have ionic in there. In fact, when I first teach it, we teach building blocks, atoms, or molecules. I don't even talk about ions yet because they're not ready for it. So very simplistic, but I'm one-to-one. I've been one-to-one for 3 years now. I have no paper in my classroom. Every kid has their own iPad, and everything I do is on the iPad. So when Jill told me about a week or two ago, it was probably 2 weeks ago, that she was doing our little activity with a Google form, I was intrigued, and so I'm trying it actually tomorrow. So since mine is a first year, what do I want them to do? I want them to distinguish between monatomic elements, diatomic. Do they think it's a mixture of 2 diatomic elements, or one of diatomic, one of monatomic? So my questions are much more simplistic than hers, but I liked getting into this. Could you actually figure out not only what it is, but then could you also try to predict what the formula is going to be as well? So I'm hoping that tomorrow, this is something that allows me to look at some data, and I can very quickly figure out, are they all saying 100% that they think it's an element, or like 25% of them getting it wrong? So I'm hoping for real quick feedback. I'm going to follow that up. Actually, I'm going to preface that. This is what they're working on tonight. Do I have the third? Here it is. So anyone use learning management systems, LMSs, in their classrooms? Sure. Not very many. Okay, so I use Schoology. That's what's been selected by District 211, and love it. Absolutely love it. If you've tried Moodle, I hate Moodle. I've tried Blackboard. I hate Blackboard. Absolutely adore Schoology as a learning management system. So it's simply a place where all my kids go, and all my homework assignments are there as PDF files. I do quizzes on here. I do discussion boards on here. It's wonderful. So what they're doing for homework tonight, as one of the things they have, they're going to take a little tiny quiz that looks a lot like what they are going to be doing in class, and they're going to be taking like a real 25-point more stressful quiz in class. So they're selecting, what do you think's in there, which ones are elements, which ones are compounds. So again, this is my regular chem and my accelerated chem. And then we even throw in like what's heterogeneous mixtures and homogeneous mixtures and things like that. So, yeah, more the advanced way to do it, and more of like the first year way of doing it.
And the side note would be, if you have another colleague that's going to use the same Google form as you, you have to make a copy, because your summary of responses will be together and you cannot separate them out after it's done.
Do you want to show our Google Plus sites?
Sure. All right.
Speaking of
All
learning
right.
management
Switch the
system.
seat. So going back.